everyone. Welcome to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle Mayer podcast. I want to come on today with a perspective for you. I want to use a biblical verse to give you something to till in your minds today. It came upon me the other day as I was scrolling social media, and I decided to multiply it. So today I'm going to be speaking really briefly out of Luke chapter 5, verse 4. And it goes, "Now, when he had left speaking, he said unto Simon, Launch out into the deep, and let down your nets for a drought." So, really, the gist of the verse is to give you some history. This is Jesus speaking, and Jesus has come up. He's come upon and stood by Lake Gennesaret, and he goes into one of the ships that he sees that's banked at the dock, and this ship is owned by Simon, and he tells Simon to go out a little distance away from the dock, just go out a little bit, and he begins to preach to the people, and after he preaches. He tells Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a drought, meaning let down your nets so we can gather some fish. He wants him to fish again, because prior to this, Simon and all the other fishermen had docked their boats and were cleaning their nets. They were done for the day. They were not going to fish anymore. They had fished already and had not had a profitable day. So quite possibly they're discouraged. They're like, you know what, we're going to call it a day. We're not going to fish anymore. We're going to just dock our boats and wash our nets and try it again tomorrow. And then here comes Jesus saying, Simon, take this boat out a little bit away from the earth, away from the shore. Take me out a little bit so I can talk to the people from a distance. And after he finishes speaking to the people, he goes and he tells Simon, now I want you to go out further in the deep. Go further out and drop your net. And Simon is saying, well, Master, he says here, and Simon answered and said unto him, Master, we have toiled all the night and have taken nothing. Nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down thy net. He followed his word. He didn't doubt it. He didn't do anything. He did tell him, you know what, I've tried this already, but because you're asking me, I'm going to do it again. And in the instance, and it says here, and when they had done this, they enclosed a great multitude of fishes, and their net broke. Once he had did it, he had done as he was asked, even though he didn't believe that it would work. Immediately, he had so many fish that he had to call some of the fellows that were in other boats that he knew nearby, and he had to tap into other relationships that he had to come and help him to manage all the fish that he got. And I heard this and it immediately made me think, when he said launch out into the deep. A lot of times you got to go to strange, you have to migrate into strange environments. A lot of times you have to go into frightening areas within yourself or even in the physical world to get what God has for you. A lot of times, friend, you've gotten everything you can get out of a situation as you are standing in. Whatever you may be invested in, whatever you may have mastered, whatever you may be standing in currently, you have gotten the fullness that you could get out of that. And I've noticed in my life that it has been those times when I have entered into those frightening circles, those circles of doubt, those circles where I didn't really know much of what would happen when I enter into them. Those circles that induce deep levels of fear is where I find God. I do not find the hand of God strong, or have not found it strong in my life in the familiar places. Of course, it's there. The covering is always with you, but you feel it so intensely when you go into the deep. In order for Simon to even fish, to even be capable of getting a reward in the form of fish, he had to go deep. He needed to go deeper. He had to step into the unknown, even if he didn't believe it will work. This is what I speak to you guys when I say, God doesn't need you to know everything. God don't need you to believe every single thing. God needs you to trust. Because a lot of stuff, miracles happen when you don't believe. That is the definition of a miracle, of something that you couldn't even put your mind around happening. That has happened. From disbelief to belief. And the only way you get from disbelief to belief is by trusting and by acting. Period. You get it no other way. He said, launch out into the deep, into the unknown. Even if you don't believe, even if you don't believe it'll work, launch out into the deep. Why? Because I said to do it. Why? Because you've done everything else. What else you gonna do? You gonna stay here and get nothing? Are you happy with here, where you know you'll get no further than this? Or do you launch out into the unknown and you trust me and you lean on me and you follow my word and my direction and you allow me to show you? That is this. He launches out into the deep, into the unknown, on a command, by being obedient. When it looked ridiculous to him. Look, who would have thought? And he gets more fish than he can even handle. It was going to sink the boat. That's how much fish that they got. It was about to sink his boat and the boat of those that he called to help him. That's how much fish that they caught. It's about trusting. Surely it's about knowing. You don't get to knowing without having belief, without trusting and multiplying that in repetitions. Knowing comes from multiple experiences. You don't get knowing just by one time. You get knowing through multiple experiences. But this commentary, this verse speaks to trusting and believing and acting. This is on my spirit today, and I wanted to share it with you on my podcast. There are many things in our lives that we don't understand. We may be standing in a situation where we've mastered it. There's nothing else we can gain from it. We've juiced this thing till there's not a drop left. But we've become familiar with it. Launch out into the deep. Make your presence felt in the deep. In the deep of whatever God sends you into. Whatever direction the Word of God has put in your heart to go. Go in that direction. And what you'll find in the deep, what I found in the deep places, friend, because I've been there, you'll find quietness in the deep. Solitude. It's not a willful place. It's not a place that you make your will makes a thing happen in. No. The deep is where you allow. The deep is where you trust all that you have gained through experience. You trust all of those aspects of yourself that you've gained through the experiences of life to serve you. You pick up on your senses in the deep. The internal aspect of you is paramount, is king, is queen in the deep. Launch out into the deep. You'll love more than you'll ever know. And launching out in the deep reveals new avenues, reveals new opportunities. You've mastered this already. It's time to wander out into the deep to begin mastering something else. I love you. You love more than you'll ever know. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other. Peace and love.